My name's Chris Davidson. I'm the Outreach and Community Services Librarian. Actually, no, I'm the Campus and Community Engagement Librarian. My title just changed, like literally a couple weeks ago, at Northwestern University Library. But I'm also a member of the ACRL ULS section committee for academic outreach and engagement, who hosts these. And so what we'd like to do today, we're going to be talking about exam relief programming, which is, I think, one of the things that a lot of us do around exams. And so I'd encourage everybody to grab a pen and a paper, even though we will be sending out that information afterwards, but just to kind of get some ideas. I know probably for a lot of us, exam relief is right around the corner. It's one of the things that's the cornerstone of we're at Northwestern, we're at quarters, which is kind of frustrating. So we're always a little bit behind you, so exams have to be coming up a little closer for the rest of you that are on semesters. But let's go around the room and introduce everybody. Nicole, why don't we start with you?
Okay, I'm Nicole Restato. I'm the manager for communications and public programming at Temple University Libraries in Philadelphia.
And I'm Caitlin Moshok. I work with Nicole. I just started a few months ago. I'm her administrative specialist.
Okay. And I'm Catherine?
Yeah, I'm Kate. I'm the outreach coordinator and reference librarian at Emerson College in Boston.
And then Angel Gondek, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who's the supervisor of circulation at Columbus State University College.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. I'm actually really excited about this topic because for me personally, exam relief is one of those things that I'm always very passionate about what we do here at Northwestern, but I'm also curious about how we can come up with other ideas so that our programming doesn't get overly repetitive. So just kind of like going around the room, what are some of the programming that you do in your library, whether it's inside the library, outside the library, working with campus departments, with the community? Do you do educational programming, stress relief programming, or a combination of the two?
We have done stress relief programming mostly at this point. Therapy dogs, food breaks, and film screenings. Okay. We're trying to add more variety to that and also kind of package it as, you know, I saw something at ALA, like, they called their, at Michigan State called their finals week stuff like dogs and, I don't know, some other D word. You know, packaging it in a way where we don't have to, like, do outreach for the dogs and do outreach for cookie and coffee hour and do outreach for film. So we're trying to come up with some new ideas. We're also going to be asking our own student population for ideas through a feedback board that we have in the library. But we also wanted to hear from colleagues as well, and we're also trying to kind of market it a little better as well. So those are our two aims for starting this year and going forward.
How do you space your programming out throughout the period?
It's almost all during our study days. So it kind of happens once or even 2-3 times during study days, and then kind of maybe the first day or two of finals, but stops kind of once you're into mid-finals.
Okay.
So it's frequent during study days.
We hold our therapy dog event, which we call the Cirque de De-Stress, that has arts and crafts, therapy dogs. We did chair massage last semester, which was really popular, and food, of course. And that we did on the last Friday before our finals began, because we only have one reading period day, and finals is like it's a really short finals period. So we find that if we wait until finals have happened here, students are already the stress has already passed because they've already turned everything in. So in order to have an effect, we do it while classes are still in session. There's no classes after about 4 on Fridays. So we do it in the afternoon of that Friday. Of course, everything was completely messed up last semester because of all the snow days. But that's just what it is, and it's a little bit better in the fall, hopefully. Anyway, We used to have like an opportunity for people to sign up to meet with a writing tutor or a reference librarian as well as the therapy dogs. No takers. They were not interested in the librarians.
Wow.
A little bit interested in the writing tutors, but not very. We actually have more of a program with them being in the library now, but we've kind of given up on having an academic component of our stress relief event. I'm curious to hear about the film screenings because we would love to be able to show films, but the performance rights are such a big deal.
Right. We've been able to acquire performance rights fairly reasonably priced. Usually well under 500 a film. Most of them have actually been 300 and under.
Wow, okay.
So, I can, if you're looking for more information after, I can talk with our media surgeon, who actually is right next door and might even be hearing us talk right now. But, we have, there are companies that do distribution to academic, like Swank is one of the big ones, so they're not priced the same. You're not paying the cost at a commercial movie house.
I can add to that too. We've used Swank not for exam relief, but for other library activities. We do a film screening for an event every year for National Library Week, and ours is about the same. Now we're not doing like most recent movies. Like these are generally movies that are a few years old.
Yes,
but we've never paid anything more than $300. It's usually been between $200 and $275. And we say that we'll average like. Because they usually ask how many people will be viewing, and I think that has an effect on price. And so we usually say it's something like between like 30 and I think we'd originally said it was like 60. So we say like between 30 and 60 because we might show it twice in a row or something like that. And usually we always tend to be under whatever we estimate our price, our audience is going to be.
Okay.
And yeah, Swank is who we've used as well.
Good to know.
Angel says, we currently don't have a lot of programming here at the library or with any other services. We have offered video games and free play labs for students to participate in, but that's the furthest extent. What are your play labs? Can you elaborate what a play lab is? Because that sounds kind of fascinating, actually. And while she's responding, Nicole, I wanted to follow up with you as well. You said study days?
Yeah.
How long are your study days? Is it M. Catherine or Catherine?
Just call me Kate with a C.
Kate with a C. Because you said you had 1 day.
Yeah. We have a 1 day.
Our study days are 2 days. The
2
two days that fall right before the finals begin.
So you're doing all that programming between like those 2 days and like the start?
Yeah, I'd say like maybe starting that last Wednesday of classes through the next Tuesday, which is the first couple days of exam period.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So like dogs sometimes will have like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. Or like the dogs and then a film.
Yeah.
All at the same day.
Yeah, and the coffee breaks we do every day, 5 days in a row, once a day.
For how long?
We say until supplies are gone, and sometimes they go really quick.
Yeah. We do like a late night hot cocoa and tea from like the last week of classes through finals. I think it's like a Sunday through Thursday. We just put out a certain amount of stuff at 8 p.m. and leave it out until it goes.
Right, we do that too. It's not, like I saw at ALA some stuff with Michigan State where like library staff had a cart, or one of our AULs was talking this morning about, I guess at UNLV they have a thing where like they rent big griddles and everybody makes like
waffles.
A sandwich, dap it heavily. There's like maybe one person there,
Okay. Just following up with Angel, she says they have a multimedia lab in the library with a large screen TVs and gaming PCs outfitted in the lab. Normally, they discourage students from using them to play World of Warcraft and such, but will stream from Twitch or just allow students to play whatever they want. So that's actually a good idea. I hadn't actually considered. We do a little bit of gaming, so I can give some examples that we do here at Northwestern. Well, one of the cheap things that we do that actually is really popular is we buy bags and bags of candy, and a couple days. Usually we try to do it in the evenings, somewhere between 5:30 and 7, and we split up and go. Usually we get like 3 or 4 staff volunteers to just distribute candy throughout the library, which gets a huge response. It's kind of awesome to see how excited people are just to get like a fun-sized Snickers bar. You know, I mean, it's the little things in life. It really is. So we do that on various days, a couple days. We've also been doing the 5-minute massages.
Mm-hmm.
What we did in the beginning was we partnered with a local. We're in Chicagoland. We partnered with a local massage therapy school and reached out to them to get students actually to come and do it, which cut down on the costs for us because they were looking for hours and we were looking for somebody to fit in our budget. And then actually what happened after starting that, we kept the people that had started with us in the beginning, and then we were able to get them to keep doing it for a low cost. And we would do that for 2 hours, and we would do that on the Sunday before finals start. Our setup at Northwestern is they have what they call Reading Week, which is a week of study, like exam or assignment free, you know, and then there's the finals week. And we don't do much during the exam the reading week time period. We do everything like the weekend of finals. Well, what we've looked at as traffic is that our traffic kicks up starting in the weekend.
So actually, while they're taking tests and preparing assignments.
Right.
I mean, I guess they're preparing during study week as well, but.
Right. So we've started our programming on Sunday. We usually do like the Sunday before finals, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then another thing that we did was the other 2 things is one day we set up we bought a popcorn maker several years ago, which I highly recommend if you can argue for it in your budget. It is something that will pay for itself because students love
You mean
popcorn.
like a big like movie theater one?
It is. Let me see if I can look it up. I was surprised at how little it costs. Now, I'm not saying it's super cheap.
My housemate who works in the MIT computer labs, they have a popcorn maker, and every now and again they just haul it out and bake popcorn for everybody who's working late, and it's very popular there.
So there's a link to it in the chat. So it's like $160, which again, it's more than cheap, but again, it'll pay for itself in a very short period of time because students love popcorn, and it's quick to make stuff. Actually, I think supplies are probably the more expensive part, but that's going to be true of anything else. But the nice thing is that the smell of popcorn carries through the building like you wouldn't believe, so it's easy to get people to come to you. So we set up a popcorn maker. We just kind of dish out popcorn for like 2 or 3 hours in the evening on one day. And then what we've done is we've started to set up a reference desk next to the popcorn maker for people who are in line waiting for popcorn. So it's kind of like, here's your break, but also you can talk to a librarian to get a little assistance on your project that you're working on. And the last thing we do is we do a coffee and snack cart. That one is probably the most
That was on the supply list.
time-consuming and difficult to pull off. You you need a little bit of dedication to pull this off, but I feel like the impact is huge because we started at midnight and run it until we've gone through the entire building, which means that sometimes the person that's doing that is going to be there from 12 p.m. until 3 in the morning maybe.
So do you use a student that's scheduled during that time anyway? Because we don't have any permanent staff during that time, and the culture here is there's no way we would get a full-time staff person to be approved to work those hours.
So I'm the person that generally does it, and then I just work those hours, or and then some.
No.
So yes, no, we don't do it. We don't do it with a student. One of the reasons why we don't do it with a student is actually because one of the key impacts when we started what we used to do at the library is we would do like a snack break where we would essentially put out a smorgasbord of food for people to come and get, right? And we would spend over $100 and $200 on food that would last about 15 minutes and maybe reach like 30 people because they come in like locusts. And thinking about what was the impact of the students that were taking advantage of that versus the cost of how much we were spending on those things. And we kind of decided that something that would be a more one-on-one approach would cost, so we spend almost the exact same amount of money on supplies to do the coffee break, and we reach hundreds of students one-on-one talking with not just another student, but with a librarian. And then we can actually, when we're stopping and talking to them, we can talk to them about what they're working on. We can show a little concern, consideration, and give them a little guidance, but then have them recognize through that one-on-one interaction how much the library actually is there for them and is concerned about their well-being at their most stressful time. And we also carry librarian cards. We do trading cards here. So we can say, hey, you're working on this. Well, this is your librarian. So next quarter, you can talk to your librarian and you'll be ahead of the game when finals comes around.
That's a really great idea. My library is we're small. My library is only on one floor. And so, they do sort of swarm around it when it comes, but it would not take us 3 hours to circulate across the whole library.
Right. So that's a big factor I would consider, because ours takes so long because our building is so big. We are 5 floors. We're 3 towers. Each floor is 3 towers. So just getting around each floor takes time because it's so big. I just want to follow up on Angel's response. She likes the personal touch that's added by staff handing out caddy as opposed to a bowl that you take what you want. Yeah, and again, it gives that personal impact of this is coming from the library, this is coming from a person that's taking the time to think about you and what your needs are and caring about you. I think as far as exam relief goes, as an engagement librarian, I think that's the most important thing, is what is the impact? The impact of these things is showing that the library cares. The 2 other things that we do during exams is during reading week we do a coloring table in our like collaborative space. It's super cheap and easy to do. You just I buy crayons from the dollar store. We just put them out and I replace them every couple days, and we print out. I know it's not super librarian friendly, and if you've been on the library LMAO page, they've done some posts about copyright-free pages that you can use. So I would encourage people to take a look at that, but it's a super cheap and easy way to give people an opportunity to just kind of we say put down your brain and pick up a crayon and take 5 minutes to color, and then we take those and we actually, when people have colored them, stick them up on the walls. And we just seed it with a couple colored pictures just so they know what to do, and then we keep an eye on it, and if people are coloring but not putting them up, we'll just put them up ourselves. And the other thing we do is the reason why we don't do a lot of exam relief programming during reading week is because we do what we call pop-up library, and we set up like a research assistance desk or research support desk in the student union during that week, saying, hey, this is the time when you should take advantage of the library the most. So even though we're not doing kind of exam relief, we're kind of like doing like research stress relief, the time when we think that it'll be the most useful to them.
What is in your student union? Because we don't really have one of those. So I'm curious, like, if we have an equivalent space. We have a dorm down the street that has a dining hall in it, but
that's when we started doing pop-up library, we actually started doing it in the dining halls. And we would do it for a couple hours in a dining hall each day over the course of 3 days, and we've kind of expanded it to the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then of 1 week, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of the next week, leading from the last week of finals in through reading week. And we moved it to the student union just because our student union has food services in it. That's not technically a dining hall, but the student bookstore is there, and there is a coffee house there. It's actually it's a Starbucks now, and so there's a lot of people that are actually studying in that location. They're actually working in that space, and that's one of the things that we realized was that as big of a value as it is to be seen and reminded that that service is there, which is what our goal was set out to be when we started in the dining halls, we also realized that while we would get people stopping by and asking questions, they're there to eat. So they're pretty much just like being reminded, oh yeah, the library's there, I should talk to them. Right. I will do that later. But if there's a space where they are like hanging out and working but not in the library, that's like a key place to do it. Just because of how the sort of activities that happen in that space. So that's how our students use the student union. They're actually like sitting and studying in that space. It's like kind of like the alternative to the library for all students on campus.
Sure.
And it's literally, for us, it's right across the street. So it's pretty adjacent to the library.
Nice. One thing that we're not going to do this year that we have done for the last year and a half is what we've been calling the All-Nighters Club, or extra extended hours. We stay open until 1 a.m. during that sort of week before finals, but we don't have a 24-hour security in the building, so we have to close at 1. And so what we're doing was we would have a student worker go over to the dining hall that was in one of the dorms, and from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. run a quiet study hall. No food, no like food service. People could bring food in. No real like reference help, but just a place to be. And we don't have a 24-hour space on campus really that's open to all students. There's the dorms, but I should explain a little bit about our campus, where everything's in high rises. So like the building I'm in is 10 stories. The dorm at one end of the block is another 10, and it's 12 at the other end of the block, 2 dorms, and then there's a third high-rise dorm. But those are the only 24-hour spaces, and if you don't live in that building, you can't get in. And so the idea was this was a place that people could be, if they wanted to work all night. But we can't do it this year because of the student worker budget. So.
Are there alternative spaces, not necessarily on campus, literally on campus, but like in the area that students use as an alternative?
I don't know. I think the Starbucks closes at 10, I think. And there's another coffee shop down the street that's until 11. But I don't know that there's... There is the silent study lounge, which is on like the second floor of one of those dorm buildings that I think you can have access to, but I'm not sure if it's 24 hours. And also, you actually have to be quiet in there.
Right.
And there's no computers or anything like that. So I don't actually know what students do if they need to work on I'm assuming they either go to somebody's dorm room or they go to wherever it is that they're living off campus.
So through your exam relief activities, do any of you partner with other campus units outside of the library for your programming?
We have not so far.
Yeah, we do. The Therapy Dog program was sort of a joint effort of the library, disability services, and the counseling center, and that's it was a very hard process to make that happen in the first place. So we were sort of a committee that really wanted to make it happen, and then we lucked into some money and worked that way. And then we also got funding from Student Life, Student Activities, Health and Wellness was a. They were really excited to give us fruit to give away, and I think we also got some from Housing and Residence Life. And that just happens to be the groups on campus who have money to do programs. And I think by the end of the semester, if they have any left over, they're trying to find ways to spend it. So that's handy. But yeah, they last year it was Student Life who paid for the chair massages because we only had like $500, and there was no way we could cover everything that way.
Angel, how about you? Are you using any campus partners? I know you said that your activities were kind of limited, but okay. So Kate, you started talking about funding. Let's talk about funding. It's exciting that you're partnering with other people to help make things happen and help pay for things. As somebody who is a big proponent of working with campus partners, that's one of the reasons why I encourage other libraries to find other partners to work with, because it makes our activities more efficient and cost efficient, but also gives us a broader audience. How are you funding your exam relief activities?
What an excellent question. We were funded this past year by a one-time $1,000 grant that we won in a campus competition. They basically were like, who has plans for cool things to do on campus? We'll give $1,000 to the top 3 programs. And Therapy Dogs for Finals was the #1 voted cause. So that funded most of our stuff, but we knew that we weren't a budget line on anybody's sheet, and we still got a lot of people who wanted to be involved because we had won this award. We won a second on-campus award, actually, which is even better. And so I know that the president's office, continuing to want to be involved, is going to give us a little bit of money. Each of our 3 offices that I mentioned are going to put in a little bit, and then we're going to go back to those partners. I think we ran it last year. The whole thing was maybe $2,500 for the whole circ, combined both semesters. Okay. And I'm hoping to get that down a lot, down to only $2,000.
That's a pretty healthy budget.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, it was great. Like, we had the $1,000 from the award, and then people gave us a lot. We have the problem that our catering service is just horrible value. And,
yeah.
We got like $700. Yeah, it's bad. We had about $700 given to us to buy food, and it was gone instantly.
Right.
Terrible. So we have a better caterer this year, and we're hoping, we know we can get a better value for it that way. And so I think that's going to be a big money saver. Because we received the award, and there was a strong sort of community outreach aspect of the competition, we made a donation to the 2 Therapy Dog organizations that sent us volunteers. And obviously we'd love to continue doing that, but if we can't, then they'll still send us people. So that might be another way. I think we bought a lot of arts and craft supplies. I tried to buy as much infrastructure, knowing that we're not going to have this again. So we have a vast amount of craft supplies, and a few permanent bits of infrastructure, like a clicky to count, and some other.
I want one of those so bad.
They're great, and they're so cheap. But and you got to find
the easiest way to count people, and most unobtrusive.
You really need someone dedicated and reliable to do it. I've tried handing it to students, and it is a little it's very hard to sort of gauge they're coming into the library. Are they here for the event or for something else? Because it's spread out all over the place. So we've got some strategies to fix that. But the other thing that we do at the event, didn't forgot to mention it because it's not on our posters. We have a photo booth, and by photo booth I mean like a student with a camera.
Library budget for it, not necessarily the programming office, but it is a
We
line.
have an extensive theater program, and so they have the prop shop is buddies with one of our organizers, and so she loaned us a whole bunch of hats and props and capes and little things, and so we made a banner and people could get their picture taken in front of that, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, photo booths are a nice, very cost-efficient way to just have a nice break. You know, that's just sitting there. Especially if you do it, if you set it up like as a selfie photo booth, and then have them tag the library, which is a good way to do it too.
Oh, that's a good idea. We had a photographer, like a student photographer, do it, but it would be much easier to have the selfie booth.
We've done that for some events, not exam relief events, but like what we do is like we do it. The most recent one I can give as an example is during Geography Awareness Week. We did a photo booth, and while we were running a program, it was there, and we would staff it and we would take pictures, but then we would leave it up so that it was actually up for the whole week while people were there, and we would encourage them to take their own pictures and then tag the library on Instagram. Angel says that you've used a photo booth for Banned Books Week, and it's been pretty popular. Excellent. Angel,
Sorry.
how about do you have any info on funding for your activities? I can talk about. We have a budget each year for us, which we just kind of balance off of the previous year's in budget to see how much we spent, and then one of the nice things is like with granola bars, they'll be ready for the next quarter. So if we don't use them all, but we always buy. One of the things that actually I found is kind of fascinating that you don't really expect is we also learned that healthy food is really what they want. Although I say we give out candy, like they want granola, fruit, and like juice, right? They don't really want cruddy foods, even though of course we give out popcorn. But they get really, really excited about the healthy foods because I think they're eating so crappily during that time of year. And yeah, our budget is probably close to yours, like $2,000 a year. Maybe a little more because we're on quarters, so we're doing it 3 times a year. I kind of estimate that we're spending around a little over $500 a quarter. Angel says that sadly we've just had a period of constant cuts. We did receive a grant from our Banned Books Week display, and you do try to eke out a little money for swag, which is good. But we really need to keep our expenses down to bare minimum. So I totally understand that, and I think we've all kind of been there. And actually, that begs another question that wasn't on our topics that we sent out, but one of the ones that I'm curious about. So those of us that do this sort of programming, we're kind of passionate. We're very, I think I've noticed that we're very into doing what we can do for the students, sometimes at our own expense. How often do you find yourselves pulling money out of pocket to take care of these sorts of activities?
Our own
do you?
pocket?
Yeah.
I would no. No.
No?
Nope.
Occasionally, I've bought like things like for our orientation program, I forgot to include money to buy the gluten-free cookies, so I went and I just got them. Not a lot, but I spend $20 here, $20 there, a couple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a petty cash that I can get reimbursed out of, but sometimes I forget, and sometimes I feel like, particularly if I've just gotten reimbursed for some large expense, I feel like, oh, another $20, it'll be fine.
Yeah. And Angel, she says that she does it at least twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
How do students, faculty, and staff respond to the programming that you do?
People love therapy dogs. I see that almost all of us are doing that. So, it seems to have been something popular that's caught on. I mean, students love free food. We have it at all our programming. And, Caitlin was recently talking with some of our student groups, and they were like, sounds great. P.S. is their food. I mean, so you can't go wrong with the food. Mm-hmm. I have been saying I would like to add therapy cats to the mix. The films are a little more hit or miss, but they take so little on our part compared to some of our other academic year programming that we all see the value in continuing them, even if 10 people are there.
How do you choose your films?
So our programming is based, we always have academic year programming that's kind of its own thing. We work with different professors and departments to bring in speakers, but then our programming that the library does is sort of curated around a theme, very loosely, but it's a sort of point of derivation that everything else springs out of, and the films are just selected to work with the themes that programming is looking at. So our media services librarian does work on it too when there's not obvious choices that he and I have talked about, because he knows what's in our collection. So it's easier to get performance rights for something you have than to buy a film and its performance rights and all that other stuff. But this year our theme is like gaming and play and systems, and so we're going to show Clue and toys.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Robin Williams movie, Toys?
Yes.
That's an interesting choice. Kate, that just made me think about this because you were asking about performance. You don't actually, at least when you're working with Swank, you don't need to own the item at all.
Right.
If you request the item, they will ask you if you need to have the disc shipped to you or if you want to use your own copy.
Nice. Yeah. We have a really extensive film collection because we teach film. So, and it's one of the things that we get questions about all the time. It's like, can we show this movie? Do we have the and it's like, can we do a screening in the library? And it's like, well, A, we don't have a very good space for it, and B, it costs, a big chunk of money. So we just recently redid a small room in the library that can squeeze in about 50 people. So that might be something to consider for the future, especially because there is so much interest in film at the library. So.
And how about response, student, staff, and faculty response to your programming?
You want to read Angel's?
Sure. Angel says that the feedback is normally really popular, and inevitably students discover something about the library that they didn't know. And that's awesome. That's exactly what we want, right, out of any sort of programming, is that not only that they enjoy it, but that they discover something about the library.
Response for our programs has been very positive. We try to invite administrators to all of our events so they can see. Yeah, we for better or for worse this year, I know we're talking about finals, but orientation is another program that I run, and the faculty orientation was happening in the library at the same time as the student orientation this year, and the college president had to walk through student orientation on his way out, and it was awesome. But I was like, and like a student stopped and talked to him, and it was great. Yeah, we have very positive response. Everybody was just like kind of amazed at how well and how easy the therapy dog program was. There was, like I said, there was a lot of resistance initially from various legal and insurance-based parts of campus to doing it, and I think, there were no incidents. I had my insurance certificates ready to show if anybody challenged, but nobody showed up. Everybody was happy. Like I said, we won an on-campus spirit award for the event. And I think also, there was a very, it made people feel good about the library, and maybe that it's more than just more than just books. So.
Yeah, we got a lot of coverage with our internal communication systems. We were on like Temple TV and Temple Today, and Temple is very, very, very big. So being able to be featured on those platforms that actually do get out to all 45,000 people that are on this campus is a nice opportunity.
I think that ties into another one of the things that we wanted to talk about. I know we're running a little low on time, but that's a good segue into marketing. How are you marketing your exam relief? How are you talking about it? How are you getting the word out to students to take advantage of these activities?
I feel like the dogs just found we almost did nothing the first year. And ever since we've been, this is going to be the third year, and after people found out that we did it once,
yeah.
There's a bit of novelty factor with some of this stuff. We did have more people, not that by any means did no one show up for the dogs the second or third time around, but there were definitely the highest volume of people the first time we did it. We have, Temple has a calendar that you could put everything in. And they also have a shared system of slides. So if we make a slide with our designer and Caitlin uses the software, she puts it in, then it gets on every slide in every campus building. And then we do, the flyering, the Facebooking, I don't know that I have anything to suggest that I'm sure everybody else hasn't done before already, but...
What we've found to be particularly effective, Facebook, obviously, but more than that, having students on Facebook invite their friends or tell their friends about it. So we get all of our student workers to post it to or all our student workers who are willing to post it to their friends list. We do a little exit survey for people who've come in, and we ask them where they heard about it, and a friend or there's a weekly email of events on campus. Those are our top two draws. But we also do posters, signs in the dining hall. We have buttons. We have a button maker, and Facebook, Twitter, and what's the other thing? Calendar and the weekly email.
We do, of course, the social media. We also partner with the student union because they're doing a lot of exam relief as well. So we do a lot of cross-promotion, making sure that we're promoting their events and they're promoting our events. And sometimes, like with the massage therapy, we both started doing it at the same time. So what we ended up doing was we would do it on Sunday and they do it on Monday, so that when people come to us, and we fill up, and inevitably we have more students than we can actually service. We say, well, hey, student union's doing it tomorrow, so you should head over to Norris same time. And so that's been good. But I think 90% of our actual response comes from people that are just there. Mm-hmm. I find, and actually this tends to happen to a lot to us in marketing, is that 90% of our participation comes from people that just show up in the building to be in the library at the time we're doing something.
Yeah, if you have as big a library as you described, then that absolutely makes sense. Ours is somewhere in between what Kate is talking about and you are talking about, but we definitely, especially since we sort of have expanded capacity, we have an in-house designer now, and we've really started ramping up on-site signage, on-site directional stuff, novelty things to see or pick up,
Yeah, and we've done that as well, actually. I feel like we've really vamped up our on-site signage to make sure that, we do big posters. We used to just do mostly just, we have, a digital plasma screen in the front
yeah,
on a slideshow. But we've actually started doing physical posters, like we do a lot of our exam relief happens in this one spot, which is centrally located on their first floor, and we started doing like poster size, like on Monday, popcorn right here, and on Sunday, 5-minute massages. Also, talk to a librarian. And so that I think has been also beneficial, because now we've started to see people coming in. For the coffee cart, I'll also say, though, we don't advertise that at all, because we have no guarantee of when it's going to happen, since we make a directed effort of going through the building to get to every single person where they are. We can't guarantee that we will be anywhere at any particular time. But I think that's actually been a benefit to us, because it shows up and it's like this huge, awesome surprise for students. So like when you show up with this cart of coffee, tea, and a hot cocoa, they're like, oh my God! And sometimes like, I was hoping you would show up. And then you get inevitably the, oh my God, you just saved my life, which happens a lot. And that's been one of the biggest, I think, benefits that we've gotten out of it. Angel says about the same: social media, signs in the building or around campus, and word of mouth. I think if you can get word of mouth on your programming, that's killer. How about staff participation? How are you staffing these events?
The therapy dogs, since staff, everyone loves animals, staff volunteer for that, and it has been very popular to get a session.
And what time of day are you doing it?
Like 9 to 11 or 1 to 3.
On a weekday?
Yeah.
Okay.
We partner with the Active Minds chapter on our campus. I was going to say they do a bunch of stress relief events, and so we partner with them to get student volunteers. So I think last year we had at least a dozen people doing different tasks. They were also part of our sort of social media crew, and they put up posters, and then they sort of directed people to different parts of the event. But we did have at least 4 or 5 staff members for like the most critical things, like monitoring therapy dog signups and control of that room and the clicker. But yeah, most people are pretty happy to volunteer.
That's good. Angel, are your activities more drop-in? Do you kind of like set it up and let it go, or do you have people that are around for it? While she was responding, I'd say what I do is I do like a call for volunteers. I say, this is what we're doing, these are the dates, and these are the hours, and ask people, and then kind of demonstrate or remind them like how exciting these are. I often feel like the people that don't volunteer really kind of miss out on something amazing. Like when you have these interactions with students and you get to experience how appreciative they are. The people that do it are super excited to come back and do it each quarter, because they're like, it's so fun. They love this. So to have that interaction, they really appreciate it. So we just and we do pretty okay with our responses, except for the coffee cart. I'm not going to lie. Nobody really wants to do that. Nobody wants to be here at midnight, but that's okay. I feel like that's kind of part of my job as the campus engagement librarian. Angel says that most of the activities are drop-in on a first-come, first-served basis. Activities that are a little more planned out, like the photo booth, there's normally a window of time where we'll ask for volunteers. Okay. So the last thing I think I want to touch on, I know we're real short on time here, is of course the tricky question of assessment. I know that assessment is the big conversation in libraries, and outreach and engagement is the growing topic, and then when those two things come together, the world's going to explode. How are we doing with as far as assessment? What are you doing to assess the success or impact of these activities, or are you?
We do a small exit survey. After everybody, we usually get them like as they're exiting the room with the therapy dogs, so we know that they've participated in the event. and we asked them just a couple of questions. I think it's probably, we've done the same survey the last 2 semesters, so I think it's time to switch it up. And it's like, how did you hear about it? What things did you actually do? Are you interested in volunteering next year? And would you attend this sort of event again? I think that's pretty much what we asked about. We had a question on there the first semester about the sign-up process because we weren't sure if it worked well enough, and it seemed to. But we definitely changed the event in the spring based on the responses we had in the fall. Is because we had a ton of stuff in the fall. We had meditation and a room with those happy lights, like with the full spectrum, so you could like stare in front of them and get sunshine. Particularly useful in the fall here. And
like a vitamin D station?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we had like a computer lab with a bunch of slides running that were like a combination of motivational sayings, cute furry animals, and library services. Nobody cared about any of that. Nobody cared about anything except arts and crafts, food, and the dogs. And so that's what we kind of winnowed the event down to, and that was helpful.
Angel says that they collect statistics on social media hits, shares, etc., as well as overall door or individual floor counts, but no personalized survey or suggestion box. Kate, follow-up question. Your survey, is it print?
Yes, pieces of paper.
Pieces of paper.
Yeah, just because we have a very hard time getting responses for online surveys anyway. I'm hoping to change that. But since they're physically at the event and like it's hard for them to participate if they're not there, and we just give it to them before they leave.
What we've started doing with those sorts of surveys for other events, not for exam relief, is we have some iPads, and we do it on iPads. We do like Google Docs surveys. That way the information is collected digitally. We can do
as they're leaving.
Usually, for these situations, it is they're registering for something. They've gotten to the end of the event, and so as part of the registration process, we say, "Hey, fill out this survey real quick," or we tie it into the event somehow. As far as for exam relief, our current plan, we haven't really done much of any assessment, and so right now we're really focusing on assessment of engagement as doing not during the event, because we're very conscious of our students' time at this point of the quarter, that we don't want to take any more time than they have to give, so we don't want to bother them anymore. But going back like in the first weeks after the quarter and asking them, doing an assessment of with quick surveys, again, we'll use an iPad and go throughout the building and ask them, did you participate in any of our exam relief activities? Like pretty much a lot of the same stuff that you're asking them, Kate. Did you participate? What did you participate in? What did you like? Did it help? To kind of get some impact stuff, so that they're actually separated from it, but we're still collecting the information while it's still fresh in their minds.
I wonder how that would, just because we're on a semester system, they leave in the early December and then we don't see them again until mid-January. I wonder if that's too long. Because you have a shorter break, I assume, between quarters, or maybe not.
I don't know that we do.
Okay, well then, yeah, that seems really worthwhile. Particularly because we do no assessment for our coffee break whatsoever. We never have.
Right.
It's just the thing that we do. We made some changes at one point that was budget related rather than anything else. Cool.
Nicole, do you have any? Do you do any sort of assessment of your activities?
With the finals week, we're doing mostly what Angel said, so looking at social media and doing floor counts. We do a more extended survey with content-based programming, like the films or speakers, but we haven't really done that with things that are sort of more drop by and see.
All right. Well, we've reached our hour. Is there any questions that anybody wants, or any things that people want to bring up that we didn't discuss, or that they want to ask anyone else that's in the room?
Are you guys on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
We're not on
do.
Instagram because I don't understand it, and I'm curious to know more. But
I don't know that we have a ton of followers yet, but we're gonna see
cool.
what happens.
Nicole, have you
Karen.
recently started Instagram?
Yeah.
And Angel says yes, she is, and she listed hers. CSCC_library. We actually just started our Instagram last year. It was kind of fascinating because we did this committee did a roundtable on social media last year. So you can check those out if you're interested to see how people talked about social media for sure. But one of the things that we found that was pretty fascinating is, of course, we'd put a lot of our social media presence through Facebook, and not because we all were comfortable in Facebook, but because that's what students have been suggesting. It was like whenever we talked about it, it was like, how do we get the word out? And everybody would say, well, you should put it on Facebook. And we were getting very little engagement through Facebook. And when we started Instagram, our Instagram account has just been growing and growing and growing.
Wow.
We don't put anything on Facebook or on Instagram that does not get at least a small amount of engagement from students.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're actually getting some sort of response from students through Instagram that we never get through Facebook. And I don't know if it's how Facebook as a I can't think of a polite way to say it. Facebook has done a very good job of managing how they want you to pay for people to see your content. That might be the best way to say it. Whereas Instagram does not. I feel like you know that if you put it up there, they're probably going to look at it. Whereas if you put it on Instagram, most of the people that are fans of your page aren't going to see it unless you're doing some sort of paid revenue. And so, yeah, we've had a really, really great response from Instagram.
Good to know.
I guess we got to get with the program.
Social media is hard work. It's not something you can just like.
I tried to get an intern this year, and nobody took it. So I'm hoping next semester get somebody to help with that.
Well, I want to thank you all for participating in
Thank
today's
you.
conversation. I thought we had a really, really good conversation.
That's great.
It's actually really exciting when you get a small group of people because you get a lot of like really, really engaged responses and a good conversation between people. So I really appreciate your participation in today's event. I'm going to send out after this a survey because we'll be doing more of these throughout the year. Our next set will be in November, and let's see if I can remember what next week's conversation is about. We'll be talking about outreach to non-traditional students at the end of November, early December, so that last week of November, first week of December. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that. We'll send it out through the regular channels. Just a quick question, like how did you find out about today's event and activity?
Someone else on our staff forwarded it to us, and we decided to go for it.
Oh, great.
I think it was posted on the LMAO.
Mayo?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just personally curious what the best way to get the word out on these are. Angel also saw it about on LMAO. Okay, great. So I'll be sending out a survey just so we can see what people are interested in for future activities and how they thought today went, so we can keep doing these and make them even better and more targeted for what we're interested in talking about. So thanks again for all of your participation, and I will keep my eye out for all of you in the future.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.